So as you all know by now, next Saturday is the 4th of July. It's the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, rightly celebrated as the birth of our nation because it was a unique moment when, for the first time in history, a country simply invented itself out of what wasn't a country. It was invented intentionally, thoughtfully, carefully, and dangerously at that time, on a set of principles to guide the relationship between that nation's people and its government, a government that came to be recognized as being founded by the people, for the people. Thus began the American dream. This past spring, the Advanced Project Management Department at Reykjavik University, in collaboration with Fulbright, Iceland, hosted a series entitled The American Dream, a lecture series on the American project and the enduring promise of opportunity. Here with us today to talk about that project is the curator, moderator, co-host, and organizer of that series, Anna Bower-Richardson. And I'm going to give her a free dad hug.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah. So just a little background on how this all came to be. Sindre's mom, so my mother-in-law, invited me to speak at her Rotary Club in February. And the topic was essentially what it was like for me being a foreigner and an American living and working in Iceland. Most of my conversation talked about the differences in the social programs, in work culture, and my observations on kind of the challenges that I'd had in adapting to a place that is in many ways similar to here, but in a lot of ways very different. But another thing that I talked about, which was kind of the more personal part of the conversation, was my experience specifically as an American living abroad right now. Iceland is a fabulously progressive and liberal place, and pretty much everyone is in quite opposition to what is going on in the US with the current administration. And while it's wonderful to have that support, I think a lot of times people can see me as an American and take out their anger with what's going on here on me. And that can be really tough when you're trying to be accepted into a new country and a new home. So after this talk that I gave at the Rotary Club, the director of this program, the Masters in Project Management, who himself was a Fulbright researcher at the University of Chicago, asked if I wanted to co-host a lecture series with him about the American dream. And what we were trying to do with this series was to balance being critical of what is going on right now, understand that there is renewal needed to continue with the American dream, to make sure that it's something that's still possible, but also to hopefully offer some hope that this can be just a moment in history and not something that determines everything about the United States. So this was our goal here, and we ended up bringing 4 speakers together from the US, Iceland, and London. The first speaker was Guðmundur Steingrímsson. Is that right? Yes, thank you. He is a former member of parliament, and his father was actually the prime minister when Gorbachev and Reagan came to Iceland. And he was a Fulbright scholar at Yale a few years ago. So he talked about his experience as a researcher and student at Yale. And I think what was really interesting about what he had to say, which was a thread that ran through all of the talks and was something we wanted to provide with this series, was that for him, there was a lot of fear coming here. He was worried about, should I be deleting all of my social media? What happens if I get stopped? Who am I supposed to call? Do I need a lawyer? There was a lot of worries that he had coming to the United States. But at the same time, there was so much excitement because there was a lot of good that he was coming for as well. He was studying at an amazing university with people from all over the world, with top university classrooms and libraries, and I think the education system in the U.S. is something that people from around the world really value. Now, he was our only Icelandic speaker, and then we had 3 other Americans, one of whom has spoken at a Justice Southbury Zoom series, Lindsay Cormack. She talked about the importance of civic education, why civic literacy is so important, and how we can encourage civic literacy in a very fast-changing world. We had Jeff Bedard, who was my dad's college roommate, and he has a very kind of typical American dream story, rising and grinding in his early life to now being the founder and executive chairman of a multi-billion-dollar skin company. And then finally we had Sarah Churchwell, who I cold emailed, and she surprisingly said yes. She is one of the leading scholars on the concept of the American dream. And she talked about how it has transformed in history. When it first kind of became a term, it spoke about the importance of having access in the American dream, and that we need to be careful that if capitalism runs too wild and people are too wealthy, then the American dream can die, which is a bit different than I think what we typically think of it today, which is more this, work really hard and make a bunch of money. But ultimately, I think the takeaways from this series, or maybe the main lesson, was something I think that I have learned from Justice Southbury. Both that it's important to remember that we can lead with hope, that we can lead with positivity, with possibility. And my hope was to bring that to people who I think a lot of the times just see bad things when they look at the U.S. and hear about the U.S. And I love it. It is my home. I want things to change. I want to be better than we are right now. But I do think it is an amazing place, and I want for the country that I live in now to feel that same way. So we are hopefully continuing this lecture series in the fall. If anyone wants to come to Iceland and join us, you're more than welcome. But I think that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Woo! Yeah!